Hi there. Welcome to 90 Days of DevOps. This session is called the Reverse Technology Thrust. And the idea behind this is to step back from all the tooling that we associate with DevOps and think about the actual roots of DevOps, which are more related to the way of working, so from a methodology and practice perspective. My name is Rom Adams, and I'm an app devs solution specialist at Red Hat, working mainly with the European institutions in agencies. I'm actually a big fan of open source, something that is really close to my heart for the last 20 plus years. Also, maybe a reason why I'm currently living in the Netherlands, a country where they started around the 70s to introduce the concept of open architecture for an open society. Also, I put a second picture there, which shows my love for the cold, which is quite unique. I I like snow. I'm not gonna not gonna lie on this, and I like to spend some time in the cold and maybe snowboarding and skiing with some friends and family. Reason why we have those tiny little snow people over there. Let's start this session. And to start the session, I would like to get 1 minute on this specific quote that a colleague of mine, Sebastian, shared recently with our team. And when we think about this quote, this is something that we would have expected from some hot shot from tech coming with like a Steve Jobs or Wozniak or Bill Gates. Or no, it was an actress. And I think this is the reason the reason why I love this quote. It's because um, we are often looking at tech as a very fast moving train, and we need to catch the train. But the reality is that when we look at how society moves, it's about the same too. And despite working in public with public institutions and agencies, where things could be seen as slow, I can tell you that that's not the reality, and so we need to adapt to there. All right, so let's continue. And I would like to continue with something which is personal. So, just before COVID, my partner and I went to Scotland. Uh, there was a business trip involved, and I was like just tagging along. And I proposed to drive after a long weekend from Edinburgh to Aberdeen and then Frasenburg in the north of Scotland. If you look into this, you will see that there's no highway. It's mostly country roads. Very fun road trip if you like to do that. So I was really enjoying this idea of going on that road trip, and obviously these days renting a car is quite easy. It's like 5 minutes on an app, and then you show up at the counter and they give you a paper, you sign it, and then you get the keys. And I was expecting to have something like this, but the reality is that I knew it mentally. I knew it. I got this obviously. um, it was kind of a laughing moment, and I think my partner was really happy that I would be the one driving. Um, and so we put all the stuff in the car, yeah, just backing up. And then I wanted to exit the parking lot, and obviously the first thing I arrived to is a gate. But I made a mistake, so I was at the entrance gate instead of the exit gate because I was not in the right lane. I was on the wrong lane. And so, interesting enough, so I back up again, and then I go through the exit gate. I need to go left, and boom, I'm on the wrong side of the road, um, and almost facing another car for a crash. So it's kind of a situation where you're like, oh my god, what is happening here? So you try to kind of we rewire your brain on the spot, but it's not easy to do. And so I put myself on the right lane, well, left lane, otherwise I would be still on the wrong side of the road. And um, we arrived to a roundabout, and obviously I was really super attentive because I was also focusing on the traffic. I totally zapped again that we were not in the Netherlands or Belgium, and so I took the roundabout on the wrong side again of the road, and danger obviously facing another car. So I'm glad we had nothing, but the reason why I'm saying this is because these two things here, when you look at them, they are about the same. This is the same platform, the same gearbox, the same wheels, the same info entertainment, same engine, everything is the same. But the platform is about the same, but some construct are totally different. And the way we're working, the way we're looking at the road and the traffic, and the actual metric system is different. So a lot of things are different, yet the platform is the same. So the reason why I'm taking this into an example is because you can apply this for like thinking about adopting Kubernetes versus an hypervisor, um, or trying to introduce a new tools where when you have been used to do the same thing with another one for a very long time, but for some reason you're looking for one features and you try to adapt this thing in question. So this is to me an interesting experience because it shows that rewiring our brain is not that easy. Just keep that in mind. So also what we can see when it comes to because here in my example there was no investment except for having a local driver that could help me. It was all about the ways of working. And as a matter of fact, when we look at the business outcome of doing transformation, lots of organizations are investing a lot of money in technology with very few results regarding their, I would say, triptych, objective goals, whatever you want to call them, which are usually we want to be cost efficient, we want to reduce the burden on our operational team, and we want to have a faster time to market. That's kind of the three things that usually always come back when we discuss about transformation. And yet it fails very dramatically because most of those organizations are just investing money in technology, not the way they're working. So, what happens when you do that? Well, obviously, the first reaction, and it's brain related, is to kind of understand that there's a new thing coming in from a technology standpoint, and you try to make sense of that new thing based on your existing knowledge, which is maybe based on the last 20 years of hypervisor as an example, or any other type of tooling that is relevant to your actual experience. But here, if we take Kubernetes and an hypervisor as an example, um, we are trying to look into Kubernetes about similarities with an hypervisor. And the only thing that comes out is actually the basics of the platform, which are compute, networking, and storage. And yet they will be consumed differently. And this is what we'll do is that we'll have to find some path across different elements of that trail to understand how to build this. We could call this the platform trail too, actually. And when we are ready to kind of roll out our first attempt to using that platform, then we're just discovering that there's a new set of challenges behind that needs to be addressed, and it's not that easy. So it's like a full rethinking, and we're gonna struggle to rewire our brain with different construct and concepts for this new platform. And what we will do is that we'll try to retrofit the ways that the old platform is working. And this is the same from practices, actually. So if we think about this, I was looking at the tech part. Now let's move to the, I would say, process slash project management part. And so we could divide this in three categories that are linked to a project in this kind of a situation where we have the platform or the tooling trail, is that we'll invest time based on the interior in the outcome, you know. So infrastructure is a given. So we know that we have compute, we know that we have storage and networking and you know, backup and yeah, who knows what, but that could be linked to it, depending on how your organization divided the domain knowledge. Operating system like a Linux team or whatever. Then we have the actual platform itself. So it's like unveiling the actual support where the application will land. Interesting enough, this is also an area where most of the organization will spend a lot of time. And this is the reason why you see that gap between the platform and the application. And the reason why is because we believe this is the most important part, is to nail from the beginning, to have the most resilient platform with all the box being checked from A to Z so that we can put an application on it. And that's the challenge. So we'll go through a phase of define and build and deploy and release and maintain. Um, those are the usual step, before building a new platform and application. It's kind of always similar. It's basics from architecture standpoint. So what we can see also is that in this period of time, we will have two compelling events. The first one is when the project team will say, haha, our platform is available. We can land on a new application. And this is the moment where we will have to wait for an adopter of, we would hope for early adopter that will come and consume the platform. But the reality is that we'll see a time gap there between the two, because nobody wants to be the alpha or beta tester of a new thing that some team is bringing on the table, you know. And so what we can see is that, from a business perspective, the business value of bringing that new tool, new platform, will take a very long time to get the appropriate value. Meaning that the only moment you will have value is when the application will land on the platform. And this is also the moment where you would have actually formal training on the platform, because as soon as you have the application landing on it, you can hand over that to an operational team so that they can maintain this on a longer period of time. So it means that for the opportunity of training that team could have been done way earlier, but handled way earlier, but it was not. It was we were really waiting for that moment to have that application landing, and then we can do the training. And that's kind of the challenge there, because this is where the operational team might just say, "Well, that thing is not working," and then they will start listing all the reason why it's not working, and they will ask you to work that backlog before actually going in production. So that's a risk. And there's multiple risk period in there. The first one is before that period of time till the moment where there's an application that arrive, is the moment where the business could say, this initiative is costing a lot of money and we don't want to go through because we don't see the value. So at this stage, we better pull the plug. This is something that we have seen a lot with cloud adoption, as an example. The second period of time is when the actual business is going to get the application selected and landing on the platform. And when the operational team has to look into this and say, this is too risky, we don't have the knowledge for this. Uh, all those prerequisites are not met. We don't want to get this in our on our own responsibilities. So go figure out that list of things, and when you're done, come back to us. This is also a call for risk, and we would see also some organization pulling the plug there, or going in an interesting way of doing managed services. So taking the overall thing and just shooting that down to managed services that will, at the end, do exactly the same thing as the operational team, not adapt or slowly adopt the overall platform, leading also to a disconnect with the actual needs of the organization. And then you have the maintain phase, because actually, if you have only one adapter, you might face the moment where the organization says it's quite expensive for one application, so we're not going to continue on this, and let's pull the plug. This is what we call the valley of death, actually, because this is the moment where a lot of those initiatives, from a platform perspective, tooling perspective, will just never convert to value, and so die. So we see also a challenge with project-based teams. So that's usually when you have a team that has been built or hired from a consulting firm perspective, or a vendor perspective, to build something and then release it. And when it's released, then the endover just say, oh, well, we're good with this. We shake our hands. We're happy, tap on the shoulder, goodbye. And so the team is just disbanded, and there's no follow-up on this. And it's on the operational team to figure out how to deal with this. This is also a high risk profile situation where a lot of initiatives just they don't convert and just disappear from one day to another. So at Red Hat, we came to the experience of understanding that adopting technology or tooling requires actually a change of working, and that's why we always see these three elements of: you need to have a change of culture, people, a change of processes, so that you can benefit of the technology. If you don't have that ability to change the culture of embracing the change without trying to retrofit the past, or if you don't have that capabilities of observing your processes and embracing the fact that you need to change the way of working so that your business has more value, then whatever you can shovel under from a technology standpoint will not help or will have little value. So that's really important to consider, and this is the angle that we're working on. As a matter of fact, we have discovered from surveys that the most benefit that you can get from all the engagement that we have done with customers, uh, it's really about the ways of working. And we have seen that because the way we help for our customer with the what we call the container adoption journey, I'll touch some of the basics after, will help to actually provide um, uh, a change of way of working that will change the way that the application development and testing will happen. And so that's where you're going to get the benefits. And when we say benefits, it's the business value for the organization. That part where we're saying we want to have a faster go-to-market, we want to be cost efficient, we want to reduce the operational burden on our teams. And this is something that will resonate at that stage with those change of mentalities that we would introduce in our service engagement. Um, it it comes in different ways, and actually, it will require a couple of different elements. You can pause here and go through them, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But the goal is basically to consider that we want to build an MVP for which we will need to understand what are the actual business the business value, business outcome that we want to have, um, and create a sense of urgency around this. And usually, when we do this, it means that we can select an application, a meaningful application that is critical for the organization, so that we can say, okay, our mission is this, our critical outcome is this pilot, this application, and how, and this is how we're going to measure our success. um, those three elements will kind of create that adoption plan, because we know that if we don't have this in place, then we'll not be successful. And the goal here at some point is to create something which is not boutique, so meaning that we're not trying to address one thing, but something that could be scaling and be reused for other use cases within the organization from an application standpoint. So that's kind of the thing that we need to consider there. So mission, really important sense of urgency, a critical workload, so that we know that when we are doing our deployment of the new platform, whatever, this application will land there, and it's critical for the organization. So that's really important. And then think about the reusability of the overall. And the last element is to consider that we want to have continuous learners. We don't want to reuse the past. We want to innovate. We want to go in the future. We want to change the way we are working, and so this will change the way, from a mindset perspective, our culture and processes, but at some point also about the technology. So let's try to not retrofit what we have been doing for the last 20 years, uh, from a process, culture, and technology standpoint. That's kind of the idea behind it. And so to do that, we need to create that core adoption team. And usually what we see is that all organizations always build on domain specific knowledge. And if you look at the roles and the team organization, you will see that you have a network team, and that in that network team, you will have a firewall team, a DNS team, and like a security team. Then in storage, you will have storage and backup. In some organization, you will have a NAS and a SAN team, and you can see that based on knowledge. Here, we want to create a team that has multi competencies. So we want to not limit people based on the one thing that they are known for. And I'm pretty sure you had that experience. You had that experience multiple times in your career. I had it a couple of times too, where you know that you can solve this by changing something very simple, and you have that knowledge about it. But somehow you're the storage guy, and so you're not the Linux guy, or you're not the network guy. So you're not welcome to give your ID behind this. So we don't want this. We want to have a team that can work together and have common knowledge, but also specific knowledge. And we don't want to reduce that to a domain specific element. Also, we do not have that project specific team, but we want to create an application and platform team, so that we can move to an as a product perspective, where we want to have that product team that will live for a very long time and work together, and will not be disbanded when the first iteration has been accomplished of our MVP with our critical workload being deployed. We don't want that. We want to have the team surviving the times of the define, build, and release, and maintain. So it's and deploy. It's really important to consider this. And so if we think about the previous chart, then we'll have something different. Instead of having a very long time of defining things, we'll have actually a defined build, deploy, release, and maintain that will be packed together in small iteration. So we want to define milestone. So let's say we're building a new platform. So we want to have a first version of that platform where we can land a test environment for that critical workload that we want. So we don't need the full shebang to do functional and non-functional testing for that platform. We need, or just to test the deployment of the application in question. So we need something very small. And so we can iterate this up to the moment we'll be in production, and we can maintain the overall solution from A to Z. But doing that milestone approach with MVPs and an iterative design and continuous learning will bring value in a very quick way to the entire organization. So meaning that at a stage, every single iteration has value and can be measured and provided as a feedback to the organization, while we're already training folks to use the platform, understand how it works, and have a very small chunk of knowledge that needs to be learned across the different iteration of our design. And so we're reducing the cognitive overload from the previous example that we had. So change of ways of working, very important. So a culture of collaboration, not necessarily, not really like breaking the silo, but having cross-functional teams, and also being able to deliver and measure on value for the business quite quickly. So it's also something very interesting because we are de-risking straight out of the box. We're de-risking every single element for the business. As soon as they see value and they see that we're moving forwards with the work, then for them, we're on the right track. So there's no doubt about it. Um, this is something that can be also applied from an application perspective. I'm not going to go through the full thing here because we can spend an hour here on just this element. But the idea is to say, okay, we have a monolith application, and usually we have that big development team, and we have all the different infrastructure team behind helping to maintain the overall. And we want to extract a piece of the monolith application because we want to move to microservices because there's a value for this. Let's say that actually we see that only the payment gateway or module or the shipping module needs to scale in a different way, that a vertical way with VMs, for example. So we want to extract that and have that running as a microservices. Then in that case, we'll build that small team based on a couple of different, competencies, and work from a platform and software development so that we can have the microservices in place. And we'll start to expand this with the other modules potentially that we see benefits in refactoring as a microservices or a different model, but at least we will have other teams that will be enabled by that first cross-functional team that went through that experience, so we can expand across the organization. And we'll have that up to a moment where we'll see the benefits and having the full mullet being refactored and having no more that concept of one big single team of development with multiple of different infrastructure team based on domain. We'll have a platform team working together, and we can even start having as a service model behind this. So fantastic approach. And obviously, this is something that we can see as a moving towards the SRE world, where instead of having those domain team, we can see that the application team and the platform team will become much more not independent, but will work together thanks to that enablement team in the middle that knows how the tools are working. And so they will be able to work together and refactor your application, onboard your application, but also actually move from one to another. It's moving fluid things. Nothing is set in stone. So that's the kind of the idea. So this was the reverse technology trust. That the idea was to provide you an overview on how to change the way of working instead of investing in technology and tooling, and see that you can do a lot of things just better and faster and with less burden just by changing the way you're working. So I hope that was something interesting to you. And if you have any question, do not hesitate to reach out through the GitHub, and I will be glad to answer your question. Thank you.